Okay, we're back with part two, Movie Money Confidential. Where are they now, just 4 years later? I'm here with Rick Pamplin. And Rick, one thing to add about Selma Hayek, which is pretty cool, she finally got her Hollywood Star of Fame, or her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame last year. Really exciting.
Absolutely. Before we go on, you said 4 years later. You mean 4 months later? Or is it 4 years? Is it 4 years?
Yeah, when we actually started pre-production, we lost about a year. Well, we did a lot of posts,
Right.
which actually ended up paying off with the
Wow.
composer, the extra sound
Wow.
mix, the color timing that you obsessed on, and that's why so many people are the technical aspects of the film. I give you all the credit for that. Lost a year or so with the pandemic, and then we were kind of floundering a bit in distribution hell for almost a year.
It seems like to me 4 months.
It seems like 1 or 2 years, but
oh my gosh,
it's been 4 years.
Crazy. Okay,
So
so I
anyway,
didn't mean to interrupt you about Salma. Go ahead.
So I wanted to.
You were there at her Walk of Fame thing, right?
I couldn't get past the velvet ropes or whatever to get in with her, but yeah, I was there. She has a lot of fans. She has a lot of fans, especially that night. Yeah. But I want to talk about someone who really, one of the statements in the middle of the film, it was just a paragraph, was so profound, and that was from our friend Cooj Quelly. And you both of us, but you were just on his podcast a few weeks ago.
And you were too, with Louise.
Yeah, both
of
us.
Cooj was an amazing man, and I loved him dearly. I met him when I first went to Orlando. He was doing the like the public access channel for the school district and training kids how to make shows. And he would show up. You were in the Florida Motion Picture Television Association. One time I was elected vice president of the Orlando chapter, and I was on the state board, and Cooj would show up and film things. I did a premiere of my movie, Hoover, with Ernest Borgnine. We did it up in the Villages, just north of Orlando. And Cooj came with his crew, and we had the red carpet and the whole thing, and his cameras and his reporters. And this guy was just an amazing powerhouse of support and helping people. And just so honored that he was in the film. Incredible words of wisdom in the film.
My God. Oh my
God.
About
raising money, about your dream,
the relationships.
Yeah, how to set up your network of friends. And I learned every time, I'd go to lunch with Cooj. He'd come to my office at Universal. I'd go down and film one of the shows for his students. I always learned from Cooj. Never had an encounter. He's a great, great, great man. We love you, Cooj. I know you're listening somewhere. And he's probably up in heaven getting all the cable and the lights and the cameras and everything ready up there to do a show, because he was a throwback to old Hollywood and showmanship. He really was. And yeah. What a knowledgeable guy, what a gifted guy. He had his ups and downs. He went through some tough times. He started a studio in Orlando, and he went through some really tough times. Some bad things were done against him that should never have been done, just like have happened to you or me. And I just always proud to call him my friend. And it hurts. It hurts a lot that he's no longer with us. And yeah.
It was an honor to know him. Every word, because he's only in the film maybe 2 minutes, minute or two, but every word he says is so profound, and it's just an honor to know him. And also the fact that we were just with him on the podcast 2 days before he passed. He went out doing what he loved doing.
Yeah, he had a great life. We should have got him about 20 more years.
Yeah. So moving on to Chuck Eldred, he was the Palm Beach film commissioner you saw in the film, or you will see in the film. And you just had lunch with him, I think, last week.
Yeah, Chuck actually is the film commissioner, but he'll be leaving at the end of summer to retire, which is a concept I don't understand. Because I'm from the Willie Nelson school of, reporters ask Willie Nelson, when are you going to retire? And he says, well, I do two things. I play music and I play golf. Which one do you want me to quit? So, I used to tease Chuck at lunch because he'd say, well, maybe I should retire. But he has been one of the greatest film commissioners. I've shot movies in Philadelphia, Detroit, Michigan, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. I've shot all over the place, Orlando. And I've never met a film office or a film commissioner with the professionalism and the passion of the Palm Beach Film Office. And they're one of the reasons I ended up here. Because when I came down here and first met with these people, I just fell in love with them. And Chuck is one of the great, great people. And I know this is going to be controversial, and I know you don't like controversy, but incentives have ruined a lot of films and a lot of filmmakers. And one of the things we do in our film, and I'm so proud of it, Chuck courageously and fearlessly makes the case against incentives. And as a filmmaker, and sometimes you're selling your soul to take incentive money from a state. And I know there's lots of people that make films and use incentives, and I get all that stuff. But he really makes the alternative case. And if you're a filmmaker or an artist, you really have to see that segment and let Chuck go through and explain not only what does a film office do, what's the role of government in helping you make a film, what's their role in helping you raise money, but also why you may not want to take incentives and you may want to shoot in a non-incentive state like Florida. And I'm very proud of that segment. I think he did a great job. And I'll be doing everything I can do for the next month or two to talk him out of retirement. So,
To add on that real quick before we move on to someone who was working by his side, it really opened my eyes when he said you don't necessarily need to chase incentives. And I think for our audience who's watching and listening, most of our audience are doing low budget films well under the 2 million, most under $1 million mark. In a lot of cases in those lower budgets, it really doesn't make sense. Now, if you have a $20 million film, which no one here probably has, then yeah, you got to be responsible to your investors. But I'm glad he brought that up. It was a good segment. So I want to talk
well,
about
there's a myth about incentives that's similar to a lot of people say, oh, you have to have pre-distribution. Oh, I'll invest in your movie if you have pre-distribution. But most pre-distribution contracts are terrible for filmmakers, and they can take creative control. They can say no. There's no guarantee they're going to take the film. And when you look at a film like The Blair Witch Project, which is prominently featured in our movie, a whole segment about the real story behind the Blair Witch Project, not
and the
all the
real
fake
budget.
stuff. Yeah, the real budget, the real business plan. But the Blair Witch Project, which generated $350 million worldwide, and the 5 principal people in the film, the filmmakers, each got about $20 million. If they would have pre-sold that and done a pre-distribution deal to appease some investors to get $300,000, they would never have seen all that millions of dollars of profit.
So
So
true.
there's so many factors you have to weigh. And in our business, everybody chases after what it's going to take to get the investor to write you a check. And sometimes telling the investor the truth, which is a lot of what our movie's about, and being honest takes longer, but in the end, everybody gets a better deal.
Absolutely.
And everybody gets a better chance. So, that's part of it, is to educate them. And I think Chuck really did a great job, as did Louise, in dissecting and revealing for the first time ever the truth about Blair Witch.
And supporting Chuck was right by his side, Christy Andreoni.
Yes.
Do you have an update on her? Because I believe she left the Palm Beach Film Office.
Yeah, she was hired away to another film office here in Florida, where where is she at? Broward County.
So look for her. Congratulations on her promotion. A lot of things have happened in these 4 years.
Yeah, she lived down in that area, and I think it was easier for her. But we've had tremendous support from the film office here, and I know that a lot of filmmakers. I have to say one thing, and I know we're supposed to be talking about where are they now. Some of the things we did well, and I give you credit for, Scott, we went to the film office, we pulled permits, we took out insurance, we did everything by the book. And when you're low budget, it's hard sometimes to want to do that. But that's what ultimately pays off. And in the post-pandemic world where we sold our film, without all of those cornerstones, the releases, the E&O insurance, the production insurance, the permits, all those sorts of things, the paperwork, we would not have been able to have our film on Amazon or have our film on Vudu or any of the 14 VOD sites that we're on right now, Time Warner, all those guys. And, people have to understand, and I really resent this. A lot of people say, oh, pick up a camera, pick up an iPhone, make a film. It's not that easy. You've got to learn the business and a lot of the, the nuts and bolts, the widgets of what makes a film work. And that's one of the things I'm proud about our film is everybody contributed and we didn't repeat the same stories over and over. It was all new material. Sorry, go ahead with your Where Are They Now tour.
So I'm going to just jump through a few people very, very quickly, and then you can give us an update where the dynamic duo, John and Eddie, are. So Franklin Torres, who you discovered, what an incredible composition. He scored the whole film. He is still performing with Mark Anthony, and he recently formed his own A-Tempo Latin band. And I don't know if he might be scoring a new film. Wink,
yes,
wink.
I'm shooting a new film as we speak, and I think Franklin will be doing this score. We are the first film he ever scored, and he really came from Eddie and John, these two guys that own a company called Think Visual. They're award-winning South Florida filmmakers, and they had done, I think it was an ESPN commercial, and Franklin did a little 7-minute demo for me, and he is so talented. But he is the backup singer, very good looking guy, by the way, real handsome guy, great performer, but he tours the world with Mark Anthony, and he was a find to be in the film. And it was so funny at the premiere, he brought his mother and she said, ever since he's been a little boy, he's wanted to do this. Thank you, thank you. She's hugging me, but he is a very gifted guy. John and Eddie work nonstop. They're always shooting stuff, traveling all over the country. They mainly do a lot of commercial production, but they're developing their entertainment division with us. They're working with us on the new film and hopefully a lot more films to come. But they
Think
are
Visual Group. I can't speak highly enough about those guys.
Yeah, if you need any kind of production work, I highly recommend Think Visual Group. Ask for John, tell him you know us. But these guys, they'll travel anywhere. They go out to LA, they go to New York, they're all over the place. They do a lot of national commercial campaigns, a lot of commercial stuff, a lot of documentary stuff. Very, very successful.
So I'm going to kind of continue a speed round here because people might be of interest to see what's going on with these people 4 years later. So Bob and Barbara Bell have, since the movie has come out, have by some strange coincidence, their business is absolutely booming, and you can go see their business at ucresults.com. Kim and Janelle.
I just want to say, Bob and Barb are the biggest controversial troublemakers I've ever worked with. You've got to see their scene. It's unbelievable.
Even the movie critics are talking about them.
That's true.
So Kim and Janelle from Production Hub, those two lovely girls. Just before the pandemic, Production Hub actually purchased LA 411 and New York 911. So that was kind of interesting to see Production Hub just expand by leaps and bounds. Carl Balancione, you only got to hear him, or if you haven't seen the movie yet, he has one or two famous lines. We just had so many people. I know you had to cram in the movie, Rick, and you weren't compromising, but he was recently, during the pandemic, he joined the cast of Orlando Housewives. They shot a couple pilot episodes. And right now he hooked up with a multiple best-selling author, and he's writing a new book called My Rise from the Wise Guys. Casey Tennyson. She is she just started the Palm Beach Writer Society. She has several books that she's working on as a ghostwriter. David Mackey, who I was riding along in with the car along the beach there. He wrapped a few new projects and he just finished law school. So he will very shortly be an entertainment attorney, and he's looking to help a lot of you in the audience.
Wow.
David Mackey, look him up. He might have his shingle by the time this episode airs.
Is he still going to act?
I think he's going to do a little bit, but I think he's really excited about helping the next generation of actors be represented, because he was always getting great representation. He was a very successful actor. He still is, and filmmakers.
Wow.
So he's kind of following his passion. And I think it's a great long-term career move for him as well. So have you heard anything from Angela Lodato? I know she was one of the most incredible interviews. You told her that on camera at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get in touch with her, but we did this segment at your alma mater, St. Andrews, with these kids. And the segment was unbelievable. The kids were unbelievable. And it had happened just after the Parkland school shooting, which was just not too far from the campus. So the kids were edgy and, you know, teenagers. And the segment, which was supposed to be 6 minutes in my script, ended up being, I think, 18 minutes in the final cut. And Angela is one of the most insightful, brilliant, illuminating people I've ever heard speak. And it was very reassuring for her to talk about what the kids are going through, what the next generation's interested in, the types of film, character, things like that. So she's definitely somebody that we fell in love with making the project. And I think that many educators, including Dr. Carl's wife, came up to me at one of the screenings and said, "Oh, every educator, you know, in the country should see this film." And a lot of people have said that because it does have a strong moral spine. We're not encouraging them to go out and make, you know, trashy horror films.
So two more I want to just run through real quick before we get to one of the most important people in the whole production. That's one of the other producers, my other producer, Rick Troutman. In case you watched the film, it was a very tense moment with about 7 seconds of dead silence, but we actually are, Rick and I are still speaking, and he came out to a premiere in Florida recently. And what was interesting, when I was there about a month or so ago, literally I walked into his office, I gave him a hat and I said, "Hey, you're going to come out to the screening tonight." He said, "Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'm really excited." And he picked up one of those pink messages, because his law office still uses those pink messages where his secretary takes notes in case they can't get through the phone. Somebody had just seen the film a couple of days prior from Atlanta, Georgia, because Rick Troutman was in the film and they hired Rick as an attorney. So Rick got a new client from someone who watched the movie almost 1,500 miles away.
That's great.
PJ Marks, we probably wouldn't be here right now, or certainly we wouldn't be on the schedule if our executive producer didn't step up in a big way. He is actually diversifying his investments. Right now, he's looking into some real estate, and you can catch him on Facebook or LinkedIn. That's PJ Marks. And
yeah, I think he's also starting the Rick Pamplin fan club. I just heard. I don't know if that's true.
Well, we'll see. We'll circle back on the next film. So Maggie Phipps Pamplin, producer extraordinaire. Do you have an update?
Yeah. On Monday, we're filming this on a Wednesday. Next Monday is our 20th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And we were set up on a blind date, and I behaved very badly. And we went to a place in Orlando called Tutu Tango. We had lunch. I was a total jerk. And then a short while later, her father died. There was a beautiful article about him in the Orlando Sentinel. And I wrote her a note and sent her a card, and she ignored me. And I didn't see her for about a year. And then we accidentally, our paths crossed. And we went out on January 6th, 20 years ago. We went to an art show, had dinner, and on February 14th, I proposed. And on June 20th, we were married in Palm Beach, had our big reception at the Breakers. Everybody said it would never last. We went on a 2-week cruise to the Caribbean. And the interesting thing was, she didn't really like movies. She didn't really have any interest in movies. She was an artist. She had stuff at the New York Folk Art Museum. She had stuff at House of Blues. She had private clients. She did shows. And, she had worked in the opera in Orlando, and she had done art. And so she wasn't really very interested in the movies. And I thought, oh, well, this is good. We can have a marriage and be happy. We came back, and the first day back after our honeymoon, I said, I've got to go to the office at Universal. I said, what do you want to do today? She goes, well, I'll just tag along. So by noon, I think she had fired 10 people in my company. And she came in and she said to me, this is your money, right? That these people are spending. She goes, these people all have to go. And I said, you can't fire these people. Well, that was 20 years ago. She never left. She never went back to the art studio. We paid rent on it for 6 months. We finally rented a truck, and her brother went down with her, and they packed up the art studio. And ever since then, she's been producing movies and working with me in the movie company, and we're inseparable. And she is a gift from God. And if you absolutely can find your life partner and work with them and make movies together, you're a very lucky person. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful. And it's just been a mind-boggling experience. And you were able to train her on this film. You're a member of the Producers Guild, and you both got the PGA mark for the film, which is very hard to get, which is a great honor for both of you.
What's even harder, and I spoke to several PGA members about this, it's very, very rare. It's not impossible. It has happened before, but she was not a Producers Guild member when we submitted for the mark, and both of us got the mark. So it was well-deserved. I mean, we both did 50-50 of the heavy lifting, but big congratulations to her for getting that PGA mark before she was even a Producers Guild of America member. So.
Well, I thank you. And I thank you for everything you did in mentoring her, helping her with the Producers Guild. It was a great experience. And this new movie that we're making right now, which I have to deliver to the distributor on September, it'll come out in January. She's the producer. She's like the producer.
Can you share the title of that? Did we get legal clearance finally?
I'll give you a world exclusive. My next movie is called Burt Reynolds, The Last Interview. And it's a look back at the last part of Burt's life and what he was really up to, what he did, what he was doing in Florida, what his passions were. And it will feature the 1 hour unscripted, uncensored, uncut interview we did together, talking about everything from his father to how to make it in the business to what he cared about. Very moving. Burt had been ill. Burt knew he was sick. And I've since watched every video I can find on YouTube. There's thousands. And it's a Burt Reynolds that I don't think people have ever experienced before. And I'm doing it for Burt's fans. I checked with a lot of the people close to Burt. They thought it was appropriate. And we're going to have some exclusive interviews with the people who spent the last few years with Burt and what Burt was doing surrounding the interview. So I think it's going to be the ultimate Burt Reynolds film, and it's our tribute to Burt. But I'm not editing the interview. I'm letting Burt speak, and no editing, unscripted, unrehearsed. And it's an interview with Burt you'll never see anywhere else or anything close to it.
Yeah, amazing. So before we run out of time, I
have to correct myself. You are actually a producer on this film.
Thanks.
You are a producer. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll take the credit on that.
I forgot.
You know me.
You are producing this film.
I'm a pretty humble guy. But before we wrap things up, you also are writing a new book, or you got a book deal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've been approached, over the years to write a book, and I never really wanted to. But this movie changed my life. And it really, the reaction to the film from people that have seen it and the success of the film has really made me want to help people in other ways. Long story, I was shooting a picture with Ernie Borgnine at Universal. I'll make the long story short. A couple of literary agents from New York, Jeff and Deborah Herman, came and visited. They wanted Ernie to write a book. I set him up for a meeting. Ernie really didn't want to write a book at that time about his life. They asked me if I wanted an agent. I said I had an agent, Mike Hamelberg in Los Angeles, and that I really didn't want to write books at that time. But I really liked them. They were terrific people. Long story short, Mike died a few years ago, and I got an idea to write a book. And I contacted Jeff, and he contacted me back, and I submitted a proposal, and it looks like I'll be doing a book, which is looking back and trying to empower independent filmmakers. And my life is interesting because, Scott, as you know, I worked in Hollywood at the studios for like 10 years. And then I came down to Universal Orlando and worked as an independent for a number of years. And then I left Orlando and came to Palm Beach and completely went out on my own. So mine is about what's it really like as an independent? What's it like working with the studios? What's it like working with stars? Lots of tips, lots of inside information. I really want to write a book that empowers the reader to go out and make a movie. That's really what I want to do. Or read it and go, I can't do this. I hate all this, but it was worth the price of the book. So that's kind of what my mission is and my goal is.
Well, you certainly did that with this film, and I want to thank you for coming on today to kind of chat back and forth with me. Thank you, because the most important person in terms of the vision and shaping the film in the edit room is the director, and you created an amazing film. And it's not just me patting you on the back or patting myself or Maggie as the producers, but don't take our word for it. The movie critics and the audience reviews, I've never been part of a film with this many positive reviews. It's just been incredible. So I thank you for that, Rick. And I'm going to end the show unless you have a few quick parting words of advice for young filmmakers out there, and then I'm gonna close this out.
I think number one, get Louise's book, the 9th edition. It'll give you a framework and the blueprint for how to go out and have a career as a filmmaker, and it'll give you the answers for how to raise the money. If you need help raising the money, contact Scott. I know nobody knows more about getting out there and pounding the pavement and never giving up than Scott. He saved my life. He got this film funded. And last, go to moviemoney.com and see our movie. And by the way, if you're really tight on money and you can't afford to do a VOD, which I've been there, go to Hoopla, get a library card, and you can use your library card to sign up online for Hoopla. We're accessible to everybody in America that has a public library card through Hoopla. So I want as many people as possible to see the film. Scott will probably edit this part out because he's a producer and he wants every penny he can get. I want every viewer, every eyeball I can get.
I'll give it away for free. It's going to be on all the AVOD stations by the time this airs. So
well, we get paid, but I want people to see the film because I think
me too.
I think the film can do great things for people and change their lives. And I'm not just saying that. I'm basically paraphrasing what other people have said in print about the film. So thank you, Scott, for saving Maggie and me and raising the money to do the film. Thank you for forgiving me for slighting you on the new Burt Reynolds film. And thanks for putting up with me for all these years. You've been a great friend. You've been a great colleague. And I wish you a lot of success with this and everything else you do.
Thank you very much, Rick. One last question. Where is the best place on social media that people can follow you or Pamplin Film Company?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Pamplin Film Company is on Twitter. I try to answer people who DM me. I talk to young filmmakers every day. Sometimes it's just a line or two to give them advice or send them in a certain direction. But you can get me through Twitter. You can get me through LinkedIn. You probably can get me through Louise at moviemoney.com. We all work together. But the idea is to light a fire under people to go pursue their passion now. And remember this, as I'll leave you to this quote, and it's an anonymous quote, but nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm.
Love it.
Enthusiasm is free, and enthusiasm is something everybody can wake up tomorrow with. And it in our business, it's almost better than money. If you have a passion and you have enthusiasm, you're halfway there. So I want to light your fire to go out and make your film, tell your story. I don't care what it is, even if it's a horror film. Really don't want you to make a horror film, but if you want to make a horror film, fine. But I'd rather you make something more personal to yourself.
Great. Thank you so much, Rick. And I'll be back in September. We'll be back with season 5. We've got a lot of exciting guests already lined up, but I'm going to end this show and I'm going to end this season with a few seconds of silence to honor 4 truly amazing people who absolutely blessed our film and blessed our lives. So I'm just going to ask for a few seconds of silence. Just hold for a minute, Rick. And those people are Burt Reynolds, Ken Hickman, Cooj Coeli, and one of our investors, George Elliott. Okay, thank you so much. And we'll catch you on season 5. I wish you all the very best. Thanks again, Rick.
Thanks for listening. And remember, it's time!
There's never been a better time to make your own indie film. And if you have a dream project you're excited about and 100% committed to getting it funded, go to financeyourmovie.com and click on the green telephone button. You'll see our calendar, and if you find an open spot, grab it. You'll get a one-on-one call with me or one of my partners. It will be the best hour you've ever spent getting clarity and strategy towards financing your movie. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.